I'll be talking about MikroTik at Roskilde Festival. Does anyone know what Roskilde Festival is here? I guess some of you have been there. So Roskilde is, first of all, it's probably the biggest MikroTik installation that is temporary for only 2 weeks, because we put everything up and then we take it down again. So it's a very big network. What is Roskilde Festival? It's the biggest music festival in Northern Europe. There is more than 100,000 guests over around 8 days. We start building it, and it takes 2 weeks before, and then it begins. It's also very big. It's 2.5 million square meters, which is quite a big area to cover by wireless and by network. We have more than 30,000 volunteers working on not only the network, but also like cleaning up toilets, all these kind of things that has to be done. And we drink a lot of beers. I think Tuborg and Carlsberg sold more than 1 million liters of beers last year. So it's quite a big festival. This is how it looks from from one of the biggest stages. It's called the Orange Stage. It's I think there can be almost 100,000 people around the stage. It doesn't look that big, but it is very big. And this is the festival area. Up here is the stages, and all these areas you can see here is camping areas. The IT, what we call the IT bunker, where all the IT lives, is here. And then you have all this is camping as well. The orange stage is right there. So being an IT volunteer, we have around 170 volunteers in the group, in the IT group. It's not only network, it's also IT support. It's of course network, and network is divided into different divisions. So we have, for example, planning. They start planning like half a year ago. They started planning this year's network and designing how to spread the load across the whole area and which switches and routers to set up where. And they've been working like a lot up until we actually begin. Then we have the configuration team. They take care of the actual configuration of all the devices. And that is the division that I'm part of. And then we have deployment, of course, where they actually take the switches and routers and put them into the different booths where they live for those 2 weeks. And we have a lot of cable guys as well, pulling all the cables for the entire festival. It's a lot of cable. And yeah, there is 2 different teams of cabling. One of them does the core network, like fiber, wireless. That is not cable, but and also all the bars have to have cables for the terminals to pay with your credit card. So it's also quite big. And then we have an entire group dedicated to doing guest Wi-Fi. So in certain areas, you can have free Wi-Fi as a guest. You just log on and you start using it. So yeah, it's very nice. So some network facts. We pull around 35 kilometers of category 5E cable every year. And they start and they work for 2 weeks and they finish. And that's how much cable we use every year. And we take it down as well. And all the cables are rolled back into rolls and put into a storage container for next year. So we actually reuse most of the cable every year. We have 40 fiber POPs for fixed installation that are there all year that we can use as we want. So most of the area is actually covered by fiber. We have gigabit internet connectivity, of course. And most of the installations that we have are actually redundant. So we have like fiber rings around the whole area, and they are all covered by either fiber, category 5E, or wireless, using OSPF. All the networks are split into separate VRFs, so we can set up like a very special configuration for certain like this. We can, if some customer, because everyone who gets a network from us those are customers for us. If they want a very specific configuration, we can usually do it. Like we can give them public IP addresses. We can give them layer 2 if they want between different areas in the area. So it's very dynamic. It's very dynamic, and we can offer pretty much everything. And we have tens of thousands of users like me and you, but also like computers and mobile phones and iPads and terminals for paying by credit card. They are also like a user because they get an IP address. And all the point-to-point, well, almost all of it, but most of the point-to-point and point-to-multipoint is using MikroTik. And that's why I'm speaking here. So MikroTik is being used for wireless links for the core network. So core network means that is the core of the network. Like it's not like what we provide to the it's what is in between the users and the actual main network. And we are responsible for providing this network for Roskilde Festival. We mainly use MikroTik for redundancy for the wireless links. It's mainly for redundancy for the fiber. But we can also use it for like what we call difficult to reach by multiple cables areas, because sometimes it's not that feasible to pull multiple cables into the core equipment, so we set up a MikroTik device instead. And then we also use it for what we call dumb internet access, because sometimes there is like a bar in the middle of nowhere and there is no cables nearby, there is nothing nearby. So we can just simply put up a small box, point it towards the tower, and then we have internet. And it's very easy to install, which is quite nice because we don't have a lot of time and you want things fixed very fast. So it's a very nice way of getting something up and running quickly. So yeah, point-to-point, multipoint. We have 3 radio towers, mainly 3 radio towers with multipoint sector antennas. We have one in the area we call East, one in the area called West, and one near the orange stage, which is called the police tower. It was used for police equipment back many, many years ago. I don't think it's being used anymore. So we just exploited and put up our own equipment. And it's a permanent installation, as one of the very few ones we have. And then we also run many point-to-point links between core equipment. So if we have a fiber ending somewhere, we want it to be extended by wireless, just to have some sort of redundancy. And it's very easy to set up, and that's why we use it quite a lot. And we use SXTs for that. So the sector antennas, we have one in, you can almost see like west, east, and the middle one is the orange stage. And this is actually from the monitoring system we had last year. You can see all the MikroTik devices are blue, and the core switches are green. And I have some arrows here pointing to where we have the sector antennas. And right now you can see that most of it is actually up. There is one thing down here, so that's not very good. But for most of it, it works quite well. You can see an example of what we call a difficult to reach area is like down here, where it makes no sense to put very expensive and fiber equipment. We can just put up an SXT and point it towards up here and up there, depending on, So it's a very easy way to set up things. Then we have a web-based overview where we can read out we can get an overview of all the clients that we have running from all over the area. And it's actually animated. And we have very nice cat pictures, of course. And the cat pictures get replaced every year. It's very important. But this gives like a very nice overview of what's going on with all the sector antennas. It was some of the guys from previous years. He programmed this, and it's programmed in Ruby. And you can actually update the SNMP location in this field, which is very nice because it's like a quick way of, when you have deployed a new device, you can just update it, and it'll get pushed to the device by itself through this system, which is quite nice. So some of the more dry stuff. This is one of the some parts of the configuration from the sector antenna. So as you can see, it's like we usually run a fixed frequency, and we use NV2. And then we specify a different MTU to be able to run some, I think it's because of MPLS or something. And then we basically just do bridging. So the core equipment handles all the logic. We just use this for like a bridge, basically. This is the typical SXT configuration. It's we set the key and we set the name of the client, and it's like pretty much just number like client and then one number from 1 to 150. And again, it's mainly working as a bridge, so it's very simple. And then we have the like a description of where it is, like a description you can actually read out. And then we have the GPS location as well, which is then being pulled into the surveillance system that we have, where we have the map of all the different locations. So if some area goes down, we can easily see which device is the reason for this area being down. And the support people, who is also part of the IT team, finds it very nice that they can look on the map and they can see what is red and what is blue and what is green. And it's a big help for us to have the GPS location. So, since we have so many SXTs, we should really have some great automated deployment of the configuration files. So we tried a couple of things for the past couple of years. And sometimes when you get to Roskilde Festival, it doesn't work as you expected it to do. Because things break, some things are unexpected. And sometimes there are this corner case which is different and it makes the automated configuration not really work. And then you have to do things by hand anyway. So in the end, we actually, for the past 2 years, we automated like parts of it, but right now it's like sort of manual. If somebody has a very good idea on how to do this better, I would like to hear it. Because we configure like more than 100 SXTs every year. And it could be nice to have it more automated. So some of the lessons that we learned. So yeah, radio frequencies and planning of them can be very difficult. Sometimes it works really good in the beginning, but then 100,000 people walk in and things break. It just doesn't work anymore. Also, maybe somebody brings their own access point and it starts making a lot of noise, or maybe one of the sector antennas drops out, or things can happen when you're in the festival. And then we had last year and also the year before, we had big problems with the what we called the dumb internet connectivity, because we had this big pile of SXTs, and people would just take them from the box and put them into the field without letting us know where they put them. So we never got the location registered. So we can see them in the monitoring system, but we don't know where they are, and it caused a lot of problems because then they would call in and we wouldn't know where the device actually was. So if somebody here could make some with a GPS, that would be very awesome, because it's always a big pain in the ass to try to figure out where the devices are exactly. Even though, because people call in by the radio and they will tell us, I'm here in the bar something, and I put it on this big container, and it's a blue container, and then somebody comes there next time and there are like 4 containers and they don't know where it is. So it can be a bit confusing. So GPS would be pretty awesome. And then, yeah, again, automated deployment, we found it to be, maybe it's nice, but it's not really that needed, because we always have these corner cases where we have to do something different. We've been using NV2 it's a wireless protocol by MikroTik. It's pretty awesome. It gives us very, very reliable links and pretty good latency. We get quite nice throughput as well. And Mac Telnet can and will save your ass. Sometimes you do something by mistake and you can still save it by doing the Mac Telnet from, for example, one of the sector antennas. Which is quite nice, because sometimes the devices are very far away and you don't want to go there by foot. And then we also have this problem every year, the power over Ethernet injectors and the power supplies. They all look the same, but they are not the same, because maybe some power supply came from a different switch and somebody thinks it's for MikroTik and they put it on and it doesn't work. Sometimes it works for a bit, and then when it uses too much power, it'll stop working, and it takes a lot of time to try to figure out why it doesn't really work. So we replaced a lot of MikroTiks, but then found out that it was actually the power injector that was wrong. So behind the scenes, this is some pictures that have never been shown before. This is from the IT bunker where the IT team work. This is the network area, network team. You can see a couple of guys here working on probably doing some sort of very advanced configuration, I'm sure. Two of the guys you can see on the picture is actually here today. I think Les is behind and Martin is here as well. And so this is where we have a lot of the equipment, and we have the dashboard up here. So the dashboard is like gives an overview of all the devices again. It shows like what is the status of the network right now, how many IPs were given over DHCP, what is the latency, and also like temperature, of course. And this is also a tool that the support team has access to, so they can always monitor it and see what's going on. Because we are like the next layer of support. We don't do support. We support the support crew, but we don't do like first level network support at all. This is some of the SXTs. They are being, huh?
Thanks for the logo on the box.
Oh yeah, some free advertising. Yeah, we buy these from Leo, by the way. Yeah, a lot of SXTs. This is just some of them. I think we have more. I think we have more than 100 actually. I think we have client 140 or something. These are some new ones we just bought. What is the name of them?
Box 19S and 15S.
Yeah. So we bought a bunch of these to replace. We used to have RB800 in the sector antennas, and we recently replaced all these, all the old RB800, with these instead, because we wanted like a more modern installation, and these can do AC as well, which we kind of liked. This is the installation of the new antennas. We did this last weekend actually. So we rented a big lift, 57 meters, and we sent some brave guys up and set it up. So, huh?
You don't try.
No. I didn't go there myself, but some pretty good guys, they went up there and spent most of the day up there setting them up. Huh? Yeah. So this is like one of the, we have a couple of preparation weekends up before Roskilde starts, and this was one of them. So we meet and work for a weekend, and then we go home, and then we are a little bit more prepared for what is going to happen in a couple of weeks. These are some of the network plans. They are drawn by hand. Each of these are like, this is like a stage, and these are the core equipment, and we have like lines between them and numbers for which cable to go where. And somebody spends like a lot of time doing all these kind of things. And it's doing pretty extreme, like what they can figure out by drawing. This is the bathroom. And yeah, you should wear a tinfoil hat. It's very important. So why should you volunteer? Because it's very fun. It's 2 weeks of work. You don't get paid for it, but it's a lot of fun. And you get to meet so many extremely talented people. Like most of the people working in the network team work with network in their day-to-day work. Some of them are like a very big companies. For example, Les is working for a bank, and some works for very big internet providers. And it's very good it's a good way of learning. And you can learn stuff while you're actually doing it, because it's like a play field, because you get to do things your way. I can do changes if I like, and if it doesn't work, we can roll back. I mean, it's very dynamic. And we have a couple of weeks where we can actually try things and see how they work. Of course, they have to work in the end, but it always works in the end. And then we have a lot of social stuff going on. Like every night there is like you go to the bar and you drink a lot of beers and yeah, mainly drinking actually. It is mainly. It's a lot of fun. You should definitely go there if you like beer. It's a big advantage.
Maybe that's why it stopped working sometimes.
Sometimes that is why it stops working. That is sometimes why it stops working. So one thing we actually do every year, I think we did it the past couple of years, when we get very drunk, we go to the dashboard monitoring system, and we reverse all what is up is now down, and what is down is not up. So when it's around midnight, we reverse it, and then support comes and says, why is nothing working? And it's because we're like playing around with it when like having fun in the evening. It's quite fun. That is also one of the reasons why I should go there. And of course, it's good for your professional network, because you get to learn. You get to meet so many very cool people, and not only in the IT team, but also in all the other teams, because everybody who goes there are very dedicated and passionate about doing a festival. And it's very pleasing to be able to go to the festival and listen to the music, and every time you put your credit card into the machine, you know it goes through the network that you helped building. It's very expensive as well. So yeah, that was pretty much it. So I hope we have some questions from the audience. Yeah.
So for your core network, what routers did you use, and switches, and why didn't you use MikroTik?
So yeah, we use. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say it, but we use a big brand name, and I'm not sure why we don't use MikroTik. I think it's because some of the people from the team. Yeah, Leo.
In the beginning, there was a problem with the MPLS, and it didn't do the implementation of the MPLS. Now they have the core equipment from competitors that was correct at that time. Those problems are solved today. So we'll see. They may be changed soon.
Yeah, but it's also a very big advantage to use something that everybody else is using at work, because it makes it so much easier for them to manage and plan it. So we use a big brand name, but MikroTik is perfect for doing all the wireless stuff. But all the members of the network team are very experienced using this other brand. Yeah.
Which areas of your site are covered by the public Wi-Fi, and how many access points do you deploy for that?
So the public Wi-Fi is actually not being. We're not using MikroTik for it. And it's sort of like the planning team. They decide together with the festival where they want coverage by Wi-Fi. So most often it's in the we have some like called city centers where you can go buy beers and these kind of things outside of the actual festival area. And usually they try to cover those areas with free Wi-Fi. And a couple of, I think near the stages at some of the bars, there's coverage as well.
So the campsite is not covered by the public Wi-Fi?
Parts of, I think there is a very small area that is covered, but it's not something that, no. We want people to leave the campsite and go buy some beers from us instead.
Are you allowed to say which vendor do you use for the public Wi-Fi?
Starts with a big R.
Okay.
You can come ask me. So yeah, and yeah.
So from the point to multiply out to the 60s, so how many hvor mange access points kan I have on a sector until?
Huh? How?
How many access points do you have on a sector until at most? And how performance do you see?
I think we have maybe up to 30 or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Without any performance issues?
No, with performance issues, but but I mean it's mainly for redundancy, and performance is not that important. I mean, we usually don't push that many megabits over the Wi-Fi, and for the more important areas we have fiber. So it's mainly for if something breaks, we can roll back to Wi-Fi. Point to point.
Do things break for you?
Quite often. Because you have all these temporary installations, and sometimes a cable breaks or like a fiber gets cut because somebody, I don't know, it happens, and you drank too much the night before, yeah. So things break, and also because of of course, because it's a festival area, so the weather is like it's quite. You don't know what's going to happen with the weather. So sometimes you have like a very nice weather, sometimes you have mud and things get wet and things break. And it happens. So we try to do everything redundant as much as possible. Also, one of the things that actually makes it very easy to make network at Roskilde is that Of course, we have this. We have to plan and pull all the cables, but power is one of the big issues because power is one of the things we get the last. So we have to build all these like points of network gear all over the place, and then we're not sure if it actually works until we actually get power. So sometimes we go to the switches and power them up by UPS, see if they work, and then remove the UPS and keep on building. And then we only have like full. The first time that we see the network is actually working fully is the day before we open up, basically, because power is not everywhere. So yeah, something that is very difficult for a festival is power. Any more questions? No? Yeah, one more.
What do you use for monitoring?
So we use Libra NMS. It's like a fork of Observium, and we use Nagios as well. But that is kind of a different team. That is not the network team, it's like a server team as well. Actually, I think I forgot the server team on the list. They will be very disappointed. But there are some pretty cool guys doing a lot of very cool stuff with the monitoring, building dashboards and making things look very nice. More, please?
What kind of throughput can you get on these SXTs, for instance, for a point-to-point link?
I think we haven't really tested it, but I think we can easily do 100 megabits.
What's the longest range you...
So the longest ranges we have with the SXTs are probably maybe 1 or 2 kilometers. 2 kilometers. For the very long distances, we use actually a different vendor. Sorry about that. No, I can't say. So, no more? Yeah?
Just a comment on the range. We were last October in northern London. We had between two mountains, 37 kilometers with SXTs, about 20 megabits.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the SXTs are that's incredible. But we have...
And the same length with QRTs with like 100 megabits.
Yeah. But I think one of the reasons why we use a different vendor is because we don't want to use the 5 gigahertz range. We use something completely different for because we shoot across the whole area. So we don't want too much noise over it. And it's also for like it's a very important redundant link for us to have. So we need it to be very reliable, and we need to be able to push maybe a couple of 100 megabits through it. Yeah? Anyone? No? Well, thank you.